Hand of Fate was an excellent game from, wow, 11 years ago? Dang, I feel old. It was an early entry into the roguelite genre, where you would simply build up a deck of cards with different encounters and quests, literally build your own adventure. It was great. Hand of Fate Hordes is a new game coming out tomorrow in this franchise, and while it does adopt a lot of the old themes and ideas, it also is trying to blend with the new horde survival genre in an interesting way. So today we're going to check that out. Now I do want to say a very big thank you to the publisher Spicy Koala for sponsoring today's video. That is always very much appreciated. If you watch this video, you like what you see, and you want to learn more, there will of course be a link in the description down below. Tell you what, the best thing I can do right now is just jump straight into a new game and I'll show you exactly how this works. Now, one thing that's interesting about Hand of Fate Hordes compared to a lot of the Vampire Survivors type clones out there is instead of having several different maps that have a different setting but largely play exactly the same, you have different adventures that you can go on, each with their own different curated underlying storyline, specific bosses that you're going to face off against, etc. And they do get progressively harder and harder, like substantially harder. I'm gonna go ahead and pick something I know I can beat just to show off how this is gonna work. We'll play with the Gate of Shades. We also have two different characters we can play as. They do have very different play styles. The Warrior is very melee focused and has to kind of tank a lot of damage, whereas the Trickster is a bit more range focused and kind of has to keep escaping from bad situations, but I think is generally the easier character to understand, so this is the one I'm going to be playing with today. As far as our starting equipment, we have a spellbook and the gloves of shielding for the Trickster. That's all I have to work with. Let's begin. Now, you might recognize this guy over here. It's our friend, the Master of Life and Death. Yeah, and I also want to point out what just happened here, because we drew a bunch of cards, and that's really, really important to understand. So at the top, you'll see this bar here, and the longer we're in the dungeon, time is going to progress and start moving down this bar. As we reach different milestones, things are going to happen, such as spawning more enemies or eventually fighting a boss. We can also choose some encounters that we can run into in this dungeon. They're not going to just sort of appear for us. We have to find them, but they will eventually spawn in there depending on where they fit on this timeline. For example, we could have a Scroll of Destruction for a damage upgrade, which I'll go ahead and pick. That gets added into the deck. And also we have a Platinum Encounter, the Maiden, or a Shrine. I'll just go ahead and choose the Maiden, sure, and that's going to get added into the deck up over here. You may have seen this right on the top right. So now we enter straight into the dungeon. Now, just like many of these different types of games, we have some different weapons we are working with. They're automatically going to target some of the enemies, and there's really nothing I can do as far as picking a target. It just kind of is whatever is closest. We're going to run in some chests like we did just now. That'll be a good way of finding some extra currency, supplies, etc. And I also just found this little point of interest, which is going to start a little event or sometimes even a quest line. The Shaman of the North waits for you on a throne of wicker, her sanctum hung with runic charms and other oddities. "You are barely worth my time," she hisses from beneath her cowl. She makes the smallest gesture with her hand, and you are immediately engulfed in a blizzard of snow and ice. Alright, this is going to feel kind of familiar to people who have played these games before. In my case, I'm not a warrior, and I don't have the Cold Snap ability, so I just have to brace myself, and this is going to bring us a few different cards. So what we can do is shuffle these cards and then pick one of the four. You are supposed to be able to watch the cards and how they shuffle and kind of know which ones are which. It's harder than it looks, but in theory, you can. See, case in point, because they all stacked up like that, if you weren't following the one that ended up being on the very top, it's kind of hard to tell what's what. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one. Well, that sucks. All right, if I had some supplies, I could re-roll this, but oh well. We lose 15 health, but we freeze all enemies in the dungeon for at least a little bit. Okay, now as we destroy enemies, they're going to be dropping down some little gems on the ground, which of course is XP. That is going to feel very familiar to a lot of you guys. That's fine, but we get to choose some randomized upgrades depending on how that works. Now, we have our abilities down over here. You already saw we have the Gloves of Shielding and the spell book in the bottom. When we reach level 5, 15, and 25, we'll get to add a new weapon or a piece of equipment into our arsenal. Until then, understand that some cards are only going to affect certain things. So this Sustained Field right here is going to give me extra duration on my Gloves of Shielding. It does not affect my spell book at all. Whereas this Magical Recovery is a 6% cooldown reduction for both of them, which is pretty darn good. I'm going to go for the duration on the Gloves of Shielding because, I don't know, simple brain says rare thing must equal better, but that's fine. it'll probably be okay. I'm going to need that eventually anyway. So we're running around and our spell book is just kind of spawning random attacks on enemies, which is obviously quite helpful. Interact speed, move speed. I'm just going to go for the cooldown reduction. That seems fine. Our glove of shielding, if I pop this here, gives me a temporary little bubble, which is very helpful when we need to escape from situations, and depending on how we upgrade it, it might give me some other nice little perks, like, for example, being able to move around a lot faster on the map, which is great. We found over here a treasure door. I'm going to try to get into this. It's a little risky because getting out might be tough, but let's see what we can do. Crit damage on our spell book? Yeah, but I don't know how much crit chance I've got, so I'm not sure how much I care about that. Could be good. I think I'd rather just take even more cooldown reduction, though. Just shooting off faster and having more gloves of shielding gives me a lot of command, so let's do that. We've got another little point of interest right here. This is an altar. Every one of these levels tends to have some sort of a special quest on them. In this case, we have a fallen hero. We come across a badly injured warrior, his battered and bloodied armor signifying recent combat. As you kneel down to assess his wounds, he shudders and exhales his final breath, and then you hear it. Hello, the warrior's ghostly form stands before you. My kinsman and I were on a quest of the utmost importance to rid this land of the necromantic curse. If you were to pray for some of my people, they might find some absolution. So now we have a quest to pray at 4 more of these altars. Completing the quest gets me some sort of a benefit. That guy just blew up over there. Gotta watch out for those over there. Don't want to get exploded. That's where having your shield ends up being very, very helpful. Now, this particular map is also a bit of a labyrinth, because there's lots of different halls we have to wander around. It's not open at all, and depending on where we stand, we can also open up some of these gates, which could give me more and more options for surviving, so we'll see. Necromantic rite. As we stand before this, the pedestal, gazing in the water, we feel a desire to place the item in the bowl. We could talk to the ghost, or we could lose some HP in order to boost up my gloves of shielding or my spell book. I don't mind talking to the ghost. If we resist the spell, we get a power surge, which is just like basically temporarily extra speed and attack speed and so on. I'm going to try to boost up our spell book, so we get an upgrade. An enchantment. It's now going to fire off 2 more spells. Okay, that's at least very helpful. I'll take it. As the smoke clears, we see more skeletons rise from the floor. Great! So by even getting that, we just made things harder on ourselves. Well, that's fun! Alright, we got ourselves some splody boys over there. We'll have to watch out for that. New equipment, since we did hit level 5. Do we want to go for dragon armor? Do I want to get the Skeleton King shield? Or do I want the Cardinal Blade? These are all pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and grab probably the Skeleton King's shield. One thing you should be aware of is you will see that some weapons seem to interact with others. It's not immediately obvious how they do, but this is a magical type of weapon, and presumably some of the upgrades are going to have some overlap with both of these. So it makes sense to kind of stack up more on the magic, if at all you can. Let's try to trigger off some of these explosions. It'll kill off a lot of enemies for me. Gather range, yeah, that makes it a lot easier for me to consistently get a bit more experience without putting myself in harm's way. So I'll take it. Hey, look, we found that scroll of destruction that I told you guys about kind of early on. Let's pick that up and see what happens. We take the scroll, crack the seal, and unfurl it. The parchment has a short incantation. Do we want to boost our Gloves of Shield spellbook, or the Skeleton King shield, or myself? Good question. With the Scroll of Destruction, I'm going to try the spellbook again. I was hoping for something like turning all of its damage into fire type, but 15% more damage is not a half bad thing to have. Sure, why not? More booms! Okay, we are very low on HP, and I gotta be quite careful here. The enemies are fortunately slow for now, so we're able to move around pretty easily here. Choose an upgrade. Do we want to have even more duration, more cooldown reduction for our beam weapon, or damage for everything? I mean, I'm going to go for probably just the 10% damage. Seems good. That's one more altar down, so that's something. We do have a health chest over here. I desperately need to get that, so we're going to go ahead and pop our shield, let this guy explode. That's going to drop a few potions, and the maiden should have just appeared somewhere over here. Let's try to get through this gate if we can. I'm going to pick up some of these crystals and try to level up faster. Let's get over here and hold this point of interest if we can. 10% damage, 12% cooldown on spellbook and Gloves of Shielding or move speed. I mean, more cooldown reduction means I can pop my shield more frequently, which means more survivability as far as I'm concerned. So that seems pretty good. This stuff can get quite strong once we do eventually get ourselves some enchantments, but we need to get to that point here. Mereth of the Forest Folk. Do we want longer life, supplies, gold, or wisdom, which is XP? Max HP, supplies, which is this food here, or gold or wisdom. I feel like the longer life isn't a bad idea, or the XP. I'm going to ask for the longer life. It's only 11. That wasn't worth a whole lot. Those different encounters can have different rarity on them, and if it's a very high rarity, you get really good rewards, so that can be nice. Crit damage doesn't excite me. I'm just going to go ahead and reduce the cooldown on the beam weapon, just fire it off more frequently. Just going to pop the shield pretty much every time I get a chance, because it can be useful. Well, here's 3 altars. All right, so we can finish up this quest, which is excellent, so let's try to do this and just hold our ground long enough. Most of the horde is still either spawning in or following after us. We got a little time. Unfortunately, the boss has now spawned because we've been here long enough. So we've got to be a little bit careful, because if I stick around here too long, we're going to get wrecked. Okay, we finished the quest. That's good. Your prayers have redeemed an incalculable number of souls. Well, I can calculate exactly how many. It was 5. But all right, fine. We get a blessing as a result. So now we have to roll some dice. If we can get above a 10, good things could happen. Could shake our dice up a little bit. I'm honestly not sure how much it matters, but let's just go ahead and toss it. We did get more than 10, so what is our result going to be? We get, indeed, a blessing card, 10% damage for every piece of equipment with an enchantment. Okay, so if I can get enchantments across all my equipment, that could be a permanent 30, eventually 40 and 50% extra damage. That's pretty good. Now we need to run from the boss, because this boss is absolutely going to try to kill me. Arcane Momentum, move speed whenever we have the Glove of Shields active. Yes, that could give me a nice escape for really bad situations. I do see a green chest over here for supplies. I'm going to try to get this if I can. Pop the shield. Okay, didn't get it on time. That's fine. The boss is dead. So, the boss is out of here. Now we have to escape through a portal. We have 30 seconds to gather up whatever I want, as much XP, as many healing items, whatever, and then get the heck out of Dodge before we move on to the next level. So this is not like an endless mode kind of game. There's a very definite ending to things. 30 food is good. We can pick 2 rewards from this group here, so I'll take this. 100 healing might be excessive. Very excessive, even. I'm leaning... 10 more gold won't be enough to buy anything good at the shop, so I'm just going to go ahead and take 20 food. I think that's fine. Food we can use for re-rolls on some of those events, but also in between levels we can heal a little bit, so it's effectively like getting some of that healing. Now, that right there is the portal we're looking for. 10 luck. Gimme. We might roll some really good stuff now. Okay, I like that. Let's try to trigger off some of these explodey barrels. Try to get them to blow up a bunch of their buddies. That's going to get me a lot more XP. We've got some potions. I've got a health chest. Pop the shield. He blows up even more. Just a few seconds. We could run through right now, but I'm trying not to. Whoa! I've never seen a legendary item before. Okay, hang on. 20% duration or 50% duration. Absorb an additional attack while active. I mean, this is obviously better, but I've never seen a legendary. Still, I have to take this. Like, that's got to be good. Oh, good, now we got little ghosty goos that are flying around over here. That's a problem. Ow! All right, pick up these shields, and we're just going to get through the portal and get the heck out of here. So I leave at full health, which is good. Got as much XP as I felt like I could. I don't need to spend any food making camp, so I won't. Instead, we could visit a shop. Now, if I had some more gold from this run, and we were very gold shy, I could pick up some additional cards and upgrades. Unfortunately, I got none. Really, just 10. So, like, whatever. I usually find that I can't get more than, like, 1 or maybe 2 upgrades. So we're just going to move on to the next encounter. Just like before, we're going to draw a deck of cards. This is definite based on the adventure we're on. You can see it build up a timeline. We get a few encounters. What else do I want? Well, Heart of the North is good if I have Cold Snap as an ability. Otherwise, I don't know that I care. I think I do want to see the cooldown upgrade. I don't think I care about the crit damage right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab the Heart of the North. Maybe we get to use it, maybe we don't. Maiden, an uncommon level, or Rare Shrine for better benefits. You really want to see Epic, because if it's Epic, you can get a Blessing, and we already know Blessing cards are great. But if you don't get it, just pick whatever kind of suits your fancy. Max life or healing, I feel like the Shrine's not going to be a bad thing, no matter what for me at some point. These extra supplies probably don't mean a lot to me, but I'll just go ahead and pick some of these up since things are still spawning. Let's look around and see if we can't find the next quest. These purple chests here, this is for shards. We do want to get these because shards are the currency you will be spending that helps you get upgrades in between runs. So really important that we do pick as many of those up, even if you have a failed run. If you got enough shards, eventually your characters are going to be strong enough to be worth something, in theory. That treasure chest turned red. That is a mimic. I am not messing with a mimic right now unless I feel like taking some really good odds. Here's our quest. We pick up a stray piece of parchment from the cold stone floor, and your mind swells. Your thoughts are filled with visions of a great library. I need to find 8 pages in total for this to work. Oh good, some lizardmen are spawning. Okay, let's go ahead and just trigger these bombs to go off if I can. Get closer to these guys, boom. Let them blow up these guys for me. Okay, looking good, looking good. Damage for my spellbook and gloves of shielding, beam duration, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to take the 12% damage. Being able to kill things faster is obviously quite good. All right, I'm taking a bit of damage, not a fan of that. Let's get over here. We do have the shrine popping up. Could get some healing. I feel like my health's not great, but it's not bad. So I'd rather get max health if we can. Let's see what happens. Your quest brings you to the remote shrine, revered among a few locals for its remarkable healing properties. We kneel in the shrine and beseech the gods. I'm going to pray for longevity. So now we have to basically just pick some cards. There's a chance we get a failure, otherwise things are looking pretty good. I'd like to follow this max life card and see where it goes. Okay, I have no idea. I think this is the failure card based on what I saw. I'm going to pick this. 32. Okay, I was right about the failure at least. I could retry and try for that 53. And I have enough food that I'm going to. Let's see what happens. All right, no idea. Let's try here. Okay, we got it. Sweet. It actually shuffled to be exactly the same as before. I don't know how I got that, but I did. So you can follow along. It's a little tricky, but hey, 53 extra max life is pretty darn good. Plus, of course, we get ourselves some additional XP. 6% more XP gain. Yes, the faster we level, generally speaking, the better. I'm going to pop my bubble almost every chance I get, just because the faster I can move around in the level, the faster I can be picking up things like these books. Blow this guy up. Boom, thank you. All right, what else can we find? 4 more pages would be good. Now, what you may be thinking is, when you do eventually find that final boss, can't you just kind of run around and just run out the clock as long as you want? And the answer is, unfortunately, no. The longer you are sitting around dealing with that boss, the stronger all the enemies become. Eventually, you will get completely overwhelmed. This is a guarantee. So you gotta be really cognizant about that and just trying to move faster. Unfortunately, I've run into a lot of enemies over here, but it's fine. We get ourselves another piece of equipment. The Reaper's Arrow fires an arrow at the closest enemy. Another magical artifact. Makes perfect sense to me. I'll go ahead and pick that up. If that is upgraded with the right enchantments, I can make it so it always targets a specific high health individual instead of a random target, which is really useful when you're fighting against the boss, because otherwise you're kind of at the mercy of how surrounded they are with all the different mobs. So that doesn't feel very good. Okay, we found something over here. What is this? This is Lion Heart. All right, we want that. 24% cooldown reduction? Yes, please. That's pretty good. 24% is hard to beat. Now we have enemies that are shooting things at me. Oh, goody. All right. We could drink this glass bottle. I will. We get a max life upgrade. A lot of things blowing up all of a sudden. That's great. I want this page. Grab that. 8% duration. Just cooldown reduction. 6% damage on the Reapers. I'll just take the duration. That seems pretty good. Couple of different items over here, including that Heart of the North. I did not get Cold Snap, so I'm not going to be able to get a special result for this. But that's okay. We have to brace ourselves. The Shaman of the North. Barely worth my time. Lose life or success. I need to follow these 2 cards. Okay, I have no idea where they went. Let's try this. We got a success. Thank you. Not going to bother retrying that. A storm falls silent. The air clears as you realize the witch has fled. We freeze all enemies. Obviously quite good if you want to just kill things really quickly, or maybe move over toward, let's say, this Scroll of Swiftness. This seems like the sort of thing I probably would like to get. They were frozen for a good long while, but now they're all free again. So, do you want to have cooldown reduction on everything or a specific thing? Reducing on spellbook means more DPS, but I'm going to do the Gloves of Shielding because so far that's been very heavily enchanted, and I'm getting quite a lot of benefit from that. So 25% cooldown reduction just means lots more survivability. And for the Trickster character, you might imagine that ends up being pretty good. 25% more damage on my spellbook. Yes, please. That's good. We found some more pages. I'd like to get this health. Let's do that. We got enough pages to finish the quest. As you stack the torn page with your collection, the pages flutter and join together. A tattered and dusty binding wraps the pages magically together. The surface of the cover gives off a radiant glow, and the book appears as good as the day it was scribed. Endless Tides. Let's read that manuscript. 2 armies clash. Okay, so we can have a failure, success, or a huge success. Obviously, we want this. Let's see what happens. It's on the top. It's right there. I always follow with my mouse. You don't always get it on the top, but when you do, it feels great because you know exactly where it's going to be. So there we go. We get a great success. We could enchant Glove of Shielding again, Spellbook, Reaper's Arrow, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go for the Spellbook. Change the damage type to fire means that we're going to start combusting a lot of enemies over time, and I feel like that's good. Probably better than 2 more spell count. So let's try for it and see what happens. We get a lot more XP. That's great. And here comes the boss, an undead champion once again. grab all this. We're going to shield the heck out of here. Whoop, 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 and go for something else. Ooh, another enchantment. Remember, we have a special blessing where I get 10% more damage for every weapon with an enchantment on it. So this is also 10% more damage for everything, which feels obviously really, really good. Now, this is so many enemies that getting these guys to die is going to be a little bit tough. Like, how am I supposed to reach Le Boss if he's got this going on? So this is where you really are going to have a bit of a DPS check. Are you going to be able to kill off the mobs fast enough to reveal the boss or not? 12% cooldown for 3 of my items feels really good, so I'll take it. A lot more XP to be had over here. Wow, okay, 20% cooldown for 2 different types of armor. That's going to be my shielding or my shield, both of them. Or we can just boost up our beam with damage. I mean, obviously I want to boost up the cooldown for 2 things instead of 1. That's just great. And this is why having really good synergies is awesome. The boss exploded, which is great, so now we get a nice reward. 40 gold. Yeah, I'll take that, and I'll also take 3 shards because that's just currency. I don't feel like I need the max life right now because we got a lot for this character, and that's a pretty good amount here. So let's go ahead and boost up our speed. 9% more XP gain. Yes, which means we level up even faster. I love it. I love what we're seeing. Now we have to collect as much as we can before our time is up. Another 18% cooldown for a couple of things. I'm a sucker for cooldown, I'm sorry. When things go off more consistently, that is almost always a good trade for me, I think. I just like it. I like it a lot. Now, the duration does mean that my shield isn't recharging as quickly, but, like, I don't think I care that much. It's all right. We need this guy to blow up before we get to the portal. There we go. We only have 4 seconds. Let's enter. And we got to move on to the next level. I can make camp this time. Could prep a lot of food for full health. I need about 50. Yeah, that's a fair thing to do right now. Sure, why not? 53 health will be good, so that's taken care of. Then let's go visit the shop. I can buy a couple things. 75% crit damage on Le Spellbook. Again, I don't know exactly what my crit chance is, so I don't know if this is good enough, but I'll take it. On the off chance it is, it's going to be worth an absolute ton. Let's see. Gather range is still a thing I like a lot. Armor cooldown again, gloves of shielding. I'm going to pick this up. Because, again, just being able to reach XP more consistently without putting myself in harm's way is always a good thing. We get a lot more encounters on this timeline. Look at this sucker. Yeah, we're going to be fading a lot of things here. 4 more encounters are added into the pile, and we got to choose our next ones. I'll take a damage upgrade, and I'll take the healing or a potion. Seems solid. A rare maiden. I mean, who doesn't like a rare maiden? I like rare maidens. Rare maidens are great. Okay, let's get over here, draw on another undead champion. That's fine. Let's start with things in the chest of shards. There's going to be another quest to deal with at some point in here. We have to break some candelabras. Now those, I don't actually have to stand around for. I just have to have a lot of DPS. So let's see if we can find those. I do find some treasure. Sure, I'll just go ahead and take a look at those real quick, see what we can get out of it. Not a mimic. I was expecting it to be a mimic just for the lulz, but it's not, so we're good. Take that gold. Moving on, getting out before we get fully cornered. Oh yeah, my gloves of shielding doing as much as they are right now is amazing. We can pop 2 of these items at the same time, so we're going to try. 40% duration legendary upgrade. This is what happens when you get 10 luck at the beginning of a run. Very, very good for me. Me likey. All right, we'll grab 2 of these things then. We'll just take probably the glass bottle and drink it. That's another max life upgrade. This one is going to be Trial of Fortitude. Before you, a vision of a mighty ogre appears. It strides forward with its club held high. It prepares to strike. We can defend ourselves with the Skeleton King's shield or attack the ogre. Well, since I have a special item, I'm going to go ahead and see what happens with it. You place your faith in your trusty Skeleton King shield and brace yourself for the impending strike. Brilliant flash erupts, and the ogre vanishes without trace. We get a defense upgrade of epic quality. Well, see, that's great. 9 defense. I'm going to take a lot less damage all of a sudden. Heck yes. Heck yes. All right, this trickster run is going quite well for me. Quite well indeed. Let's go ahead and trigger that explosion. Kill off a lot of these enemies. Kill off a bunch of you. Trigger more of these explosions. Good. Healing spirits. I'm going to stow this for later, this healing spirit. Some of these encounters can interact with other encounters. I don't remember if this interacts with the maiden. It might. It does with something. And I don't need the healing, so I'm just going to stow it for later right now. On the off chance in between, well, it says I can use it at the campfire. But maybe I get the event. Let's see. Let's just see what happens. Let's pop our shield. We'll just go ahead and explode all of that stuff. I really need you to destroy the candelabra, please. Oh, God. Hello. We got ourselves a nice lizard man. Cold snap. Frost damage, fire damage. I think I'm going to take... I mean, frost damage is good. It slows down enemies. It's also a bit of AoE, but the dragon armor is not bad either because the extra fire in these tiny, kind of cramped halls could result in controlling where enemies go, and then they die, which is great. 30% more damage, but an enchantment is 10% damage and more fire intensity. And with my spellbook here, I don't know. It looks like it only affects the dragon armor. If this also affected my enchanted spellbook, that would have been amazing. The 30% damage is very tempting, but for the heck of it, I'm going to take this. That's going to give me another one of those enchantments, so that's at least locked in. And we'll get these placed here. I need to break another candelabra. We'll just go ahead and speedrun our way through here. Please explode. What do we got here? We got ourselves an ornate sarcophagus. There are some of these encounters that are unique to the specific map type, like this. I've always found the sarcophagus. This is going to lead to something here. The Skeleton King's shield glows with the eerie light, as if beckoning me to take more from the treasure. I mean, if the shield says so, then fine, why not? You pocket the spoils, it glows even more intensely, drawing hordes around me. We could speak to a ghost, search the coffin for even more, or attempt to take the horde by a surprise. Let's see what happens. So if we accept the offer and forfeit from stolen gold, what happens? We'll end the necromancer's hold on these once proud warriors. Feels like a good questy thing to do. Yeah, I feel like we could do this. I don't need gold right now. We're just going to accept it. So now we can try to go for this huge success. Let's see what happens. It's not on the top. It might be here. Nope, that's a failure. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and re-roll this sucker. Try again. Another failure. All right, re-roll again. Come on. Show it to me. It's here somewhere. There's huge success. All right, we have plenty of food. Why not just re-roll? All right, so we lose 10 gold. The dealer discards all horde cards. Wow, so it's not going to be able to spawn nearly as many enemies. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing for me because it also means less XP. But we do get an upgrade. 15% more beam damage. Well, my shield did want me to be gradied, so I guess that might be why. Get out of here, ghosts! I don't like any of you! Leave me alone! Pop a shield. All right, we have a scroll. What do we want to do now? I'm going to boost up the... What do we want to boost up? I mean, the spellbook again feels good, but let's try the Reaper's Arrow and see what happens here. 25% more damage. I'm hoping to get an enchantment for that at some point. Like, that really would be good for me to have. We'll see what happens. I love the move speed on these gloves of shielding. This is such a big deal. And with the reduced recharge, like, seriously, I can be moving around so fast with so much extra HP and shielding. It's really good. Hi, maiden. Ah, she's not the event that takes the potion. All right, it was worth a shot. It was worth a shot. I don't need supplies. I don't think I care about gold because I think this is the last level here. So I'm going to ask for wisdom and XP. We get a pretty good amount. Let's pop the shield, blow that up. 30% cooldown for fire things, including my spellbook. Yes. I mean, that's pretty good. I saw the XP gain, but we're on the last level. I think at this point, it probably doesn't matter that much. We've broken all the candelabras, which means we finish another quest. With a hiss of smoke, the final lamp shatters to the floor, and a rush of energy envelops and swirls through your equipment. Okay, follow the cards and make our selection. That looks like a platinum upgrade for a spell book and my gloves of shielding. There's also a token. This is on several of the different cards. There are tokens where, like, if you complete a secondary objective, that will lead to progression and unlocking more cards later on. I don't know what this one does, but let's just sort of see what happens. We're going to roll here. What do we want? I'm just going to see what happens. We got the gloves of shielding. Honestly, I'm just going to roll with it. Let's see what happens. All right, we get another enchantment. Cool. 100% more duration or change the damage type to frost. So whenever this goes off, we now also freeze enemies. Well, that seems great, but the duration's also really good. Duration doesn't necessarily mean more shielding HP, though, right? It just means I'll be able to run around a lot longer. Maybe this is better. Let's go for the frost. Let's mix that all in and see what happens. Oh, you draw another horde card. Gosh dang it, dealer, you're just a bad sport, okay? I get something good, and you're just thinking, how can I ruin his day? You know? Feels very on brand with you. Very on brand indeed. Another candelabra? I don't need that, but I'll break it anyway for the XP. Treasure chests. I don't even think I need this gold, but I like gold. What can I say? I'm a miser. Let's go ahead and pick that up, run through here. Don't be afraid of those exploding chest barrel guys, by the way. Like, I know that they're bad for you in the sense that if you get caught out with them, you're dead. But at least with the Trickster, you've got such a good shield that it's worth triggering them, and it honestly will do more to blow up a lot of your enemies, like that, than anything I'll be able to do by myself. Like, sometimes that's the only way to get to the boss. You gotta give it a go. 18% cooldown for a couple different things, or 15% damage for my spellbook. You know what? Let's just double up on the damage there. I think that's fine. So that champion's gonna blow up. Good. We're very close to triggering the boss. Another level up for me. Fire intensity, max life, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, I guess, whatever, sure, that's fine. Shield running through here, excuse me, boom, baby. All right, that blew up a lot of barrels. And we found our enemy. It's a creepy ghost ghoul necromancery king thingy. Right, we gotta be careful about this. I've got a cool shield to slow him down, and he's running into my fire, which is nice. I'm really scared about the fact that we have a massive horde on my back, though, so we're gonna have to just kind of run for a bit. This is where the game really does get quite tricky for me, because depending on what your class is and how you play, you might really struggle to burst through to this enemy. In my case, he's outrunning his own hordes, which means we're going to be fine. But if you're playing as like the warrior, for example, and they're surrounded by tons of enemies, how do you break through and actually get him? If you haven't built your character correctly, you may not be able to. Stone Bowl, foul glowing elixir. Do we want to level up another thing? You know what? Hey, healing spirits, we can drink our potion. Let's go ahead and enchant or get an upgrade for the Reaper's Arrow. All right, damage is not reduced per enemy hit. Great, so now it actually can pierce through enemies and do lots and lots of damage. Plus, we get our last enchantment. Well, not last, but now our last item is enchanted, so that's another 10% damage for me. Beautimus, and the boss should be going down here. There we go. You can just see, though, that enemies did get stronger, so that's a little bit scary. Sure, 6% cooldown on 3 different items. Good. We'll pick up this reward. What do we get? Some shards. Thank you. And the portal is going to be closing in just a few seconds. All right, what do we get here? Artifact, 25% more damage there, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I guess it's better than some things, and if its damage is not going to go down as it pierces through enemies, that's pretty good. It does like 333 damage each. Another enchantment, 200% knockback effect. Me likey. Let's go ahead and pick up this health. I don't need any of this. I'm doing this just to be gratuitous at this point and live on the edge, so to speak. You know, I just feel a little bit risky. Nah, it's fine. We'll run through here now. Enter the portal. We disappear in a dazzling swirl of lights, and that completes this particular adventure. Now we've got some more XP on our character. As he levels up, he'll unlock some additional cards and things we can find. That's great. We got some shards as a new type of currency that I'll use in between runs, and we can see some of our ending stats. So you can see the spellbook absolutely was doing the majority of the work. The shield actually wasn't half bad. Dragon's armor didn't do as much as I kind of hoped it was going to, but I mean, yeah, no, I think maybe going for the frost, the cold snap would have been a better pickup for us. Still, I mean, we were able to use it somewhat effectively. That wasn't too bad. A lot of experience. We got to level 32 by the end of this. That's not bad. Yeah, overall, solid. Very solid. All right. So we did not, unfortunately, unlock any tokens that time. Nothing I did there was new for me. But if I go to my collection here, we can see a bunch of different cards that can be encountered in the game. And again, this is kind of leaning into the original Hand of Fate, where you can kind of build up your own adventure. Obviously, this is very different, right? It's not literally build your own dungeon, kind of slay the spire encounters. It's a Vampire Survivors, but you do have a lot of control as far as like what things you can run into, and if you play your cards correctly or you get very lucky, you can build up something that ends up being very strong for you, as we did ourselves. We made sure we picked up a lot of good items that synergized well with what I was going to need, and there's plenty to unlock. Now, as far as upgrades, let's take a look at that real quick before I end this video. This is where we can spend our currency getting basically just some default stat upgrades. So for example, more XP means I level up faster, better gather range. I don't mind picking up a little bit of extra luck. That seems pretty good. A bit of move speed wouldn't go amiss. Maybe a little bit of defense for just some survivability. A little bit of life regen would be a good idea, maybe. Or we could boost up crit chance, cooldown, HP, interact speed. I think I'll just go ahead and pick up a bit of cooldown reduction, just make that passive. All characters now benefit from this, but this is where the replayability comes in. If you're really struggling with a particular level, if you just farm out enough of these shards, eventually you will be able to get some additional upgrades to take on some of the harder and harder adventures and unlock more stuff. But that does get very challenging, and almost every adventure seems to come with one extra floor. Like, we just had to fight 3 here in a Gate of Shades. I know the Trek Underground has 4. I assume the Necromantic Ruins, which I've unlocked, has like 5 stages. So it gets harder as the game goes on, for sure. It gets quite challenging. And I'd say there's probably a little bit less of a, we've kind of hit the snowball that just makes the game silly, like you see in a lot of the Vampire Survivors clones. You always have to be very mindful of your surroundings and how you play in Hand of Fate Hordes, which I think a lot of people are going to like. So that's the game, guys. That's one adventure out of the many that are going to be available during the early access phase. If you guys like this, of course, there's going to be that link in the description down below, and the game's coming out tomorrow, so I would recommend you check that out and maybe give it a wish list, or go ahead and pick that sucker up if the game already has released. And once again, a big thank you to Spicy Koala for sponsoring today's video. I enjoy showing off games like this, and hopefully you enjoy watching it. Be sure to hit that like button if you did enjoy, leave a comment, subscribe, hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.